The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Hey, join Scotty from noon to 3 at Tim Daly Nissan Southtown coming up tomorrow, 11155 South Jordan Gateway in South Jordan. Tim Daly, home of the forever warranty. Ben, let's talk a little bit about old Adam Silver.
Okay.
I got to keep an eye on it a little bit from afar because the outrage was palpable from Jazz fans about the fine.
And the owner. I mean, the owner went after Bobby Marks on Twitter.
God, what a clown that guy is. You know what's funny?
Bobby Marks.
Yeah. You know what's funny about the national media is they just have no memory, and I know that Ryan Smith mentioned that.
Yeah.
But they have no memory, and it makes it obvious their bias.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense?
Motivation at the very least. Yeah.
Not consistent in any way, shape, or form. And actually, I think that really is one of Adam Silver's biggest problems. Is that he is not consistent at all, and he sets all these crazy precedents that he either sets a precedent that he doesn't live up to, or he sets a precedent he could never live up to. You want to know the biggest problem with his finding the Jazz is because he can't sit there and manage Will Hardy's lineup. And I know I'm not the first person to point that out, and I'm sure you did.
It was the craziest part of it all to me.
You cannot. You're telling me what if Will Hardy were sending a message to Lauri Markkanen because his locker was extremely unkept.
Or even easier.
You know what I mean? Like
Lauri misses 4 straight rotations, which happens every game.
Yeah.
What if he's absolutely saying, you're not playing well enough? You're losing your minutes because you're not playing well enough.
You're not playing defense. You're not guarding. You're not doing whatever. That's why I picked something silly like a locker.
Sure.
He can use minutes are the only leverage that NBA coaches have.
He does not get to take your money away from you.
At all. He can't do any of that. So the only thing the coach can do is minutes. And by the way, let's just evaluation of players in and of itself is incredibly subjective. Who's to say?
Absolutely flawed. We know it's flawed. What happened to the Atlanta Hawks this year when they stopped playing Trae Young?
They got better.
Way better.
Right.
Trae Young is an all-star. He's the highest paid player on the team. By definition, that's the type of guy you should want to have on the floor at the end of games if you want to see a star player, but we know he actively makes you worse.
So are you telling me that the NBA now is going to actively monitor every rotation in the league through their own subjective lens and punish not coaches, but entire teams for not doing what they think the way that they would have done it? That's crazy.
Regardless.
And you cannot enforce that on an even level, which is your job as commissioner because you're the NBA commissioner. You're not the commissioner for certain teams or certain markets or whatever. You have to be consistent over the entire league. And now you have set a literal impossible precedent.
Regardless of whether your team wins or loses. The Jazz won a game and they got fined for it. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
All this stuff designed to fix tanking is totally ineffective, unenforceable. I mean, what words? So it led me to think, have we been giving Adam Silver way too much credit for way too long? What has he actually done with the NBA that has been good? And I can think of one thing.
Okay.
Extending the All-Star break.
Okay.
That's been good for everybody.
He's reduced some back-to-backs, 3 games in 4 nights. But let's remember, he did those in an effort to curb tanking exclusively, and apparently it has not worked. Because
load management is what he did to curb load, which it hasn't been effective.
But as he has said, you're seeing tanking at a higher level than ever before. He said that over the weekend.
But giving players a couple extra days over All-Star break was a good move. You talk to any player in the league and they love it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only thing I can think of. The play-in tournament is a joke. Or whatever, are we play-in tournament? What do we even call it?
Well, there's the in-season tournament and the play-in tournament.
The play-in games,
yeah.
Joke. The in-season tournament, at very least, has been a non-factor. I don't know if it's been a negative for the league, but it hasn't been a positive. Has it generated any extra interest in the fall when that was the whole point? Maybe a little bit?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
What else has he done? I would even argue the
Like
way
the actual night of the games themselves are fine. Like I actually have liked the in-season tournament championship game. It's a night.
Right.
That's a night he has improved.
I would even argue the way he forced Donald Sterling out was entirely wrong.
Yeah.
And set a really dangerous precedent that he hasn't, luckily for him, hasn't come back to bite him in the butt. But can you imagine forcing an NBA owner to sell a franchise based on an illegally obtained recording? That's ludicrous.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And by the way, you could have easily just let him drown in his own thing with the players refusing to play and fans refusing to show up, and he would have had to sell it anyway, and you wouldn't have had to force him to do anything, which is, ironically, the lesson he learned when he forced Robert Sarver out. Because you don't have to publicly force anybody out. You can do it behind. You can do it behind the scenes, and the public will do it.
Yeah.
So even that wasn't a success, in my opinion. Now, maybe the NBA is a better league without Donald Sterling. I certainly think you could make that argument. But the way that he did it was ridiculous and could possibly be illegal. And if Donald Sterling hadn't made billions of dollars, he probably could have forced that issue if he really would have wanted
if he
to.
didn't get the angel investor to come in and say, I'll just pay you twice what your team is worth, and he said, well, I would have done that happily at any point, yes, he would have made a bigger stink about it.
And look at what now he's invited in with Steve Ballmer, which I caught up on the latest Pablo Torre podcast about that, which came out like a couple of weeks ago. And listen, a lot of his reporting is anonymous, and I would listen to that. He's been fairly liberal with his with his conclusions. It's all documented. The Clippers did it.
Yes.
They did it.
Yep.
Uncle Dennis did it.
Right.
So replacing Donald Sterling with Steve Ballmer has actually turned out to be replacing one headache with another.
Right.
And I would argue that the headache that Ballmer is creating is more
consequential to the NBA.
To the NBA.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. A racist owner, bad. Nobody wants to have that around. The richest
and a bad owner, by the way.
The richest owner in all of sports circumventing the rules to pay players illegally actually causes greater foundational issues than your owner's a scumbag.
And actually maybe committing some fraud, depending on who you talk to, in order to do it, is bananas.
Yeah.
And listen, you know what they're going to do about it? I would guess nothing.
Yeah, maybe
maybe a slap on the wrist. But here is the greatest. Okay, let me put it this way: like the greatest PR dodge that these leagues / franchises shoot. The University of Utah did it. They hire law firms to investigate. So all of us on the outside go,
well, they're taking care of it.
The NBA's on it. They're looking into it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what the investigation turns up. And even Adam Silver hiding behind it when asked about aspiration at All-Star, well, what do you want me to do? We're investigating it. I can't really talk about it. We're investigating, blah, blah, blah. Those law firms are going to find whatever the NBA wants.
Yeah.
Because who's paying them?
The NBA.
So Adam Silver sat them down and determined what he wanted them to find at the beginning. Because honestly, and to give Pablo Torre credit, you cannot go through the stuff he's gone through and not come out and think they did it.
Yeah.
He's got documents. He's got emails. It's way more. Yeah. It's way more than just an unsourced story in the New York Times or something, or not unsourced, but anonymous source. I got two people to talk anonymously. He's got, because the aspiration went bankrupt and there was a federal investigation. Their CEO went to prison.
Right.
And so they've got all of that, but the sad part is that I think the NBA absolutely needs a leader that's not necessarily honest, but they need a leader that's decisive and not going to cave to pressure, because the gambling companies are absolutely telling Adam Silver what to do. The Thunder and them complaining are telling him what to do. I mean, it's a disaster. It is. And they're going to try the Terry Rozier Miami stuff. He did that in Charlotte. He shaved points. You can look at it. He did it. They hired the same law firm. And where is that now? Gone.
Yep.
Gone. They basically cleared him and then pushed it aside and said, well, I can't wait till everybody forgets about it. It's crazy. He's terrible.
Yeah, he's not done a good job.
He's terrible.
To your point, and I think you bring up a good one, and this was my biggest issue with kind of what he said over the weekend. And it's important to remember, so a little more clarification on how the Jazz got fined, and it was right there in the black and white of the release. But the Pacers got fined, because it was in the same release, for violating the player participation policy regarding Pascal Siakam, which means he's a former All-Star who rested a game that he should have played in. The Jazz got fined for conduct detrimental to the NBA. It wasn't within the player participation policy. That's not what the Jazz got fined for. The NBA just said, well, we have other powers that we think when you do something that's detrimental to our league, we can impose a fine of whatever we want, which is why it was $500,000, because there are actually set numbers the league is supposed to fine you by. First time you get fined for player participation policy, it's like 100, and then it goes to 50, and then it goes up to $500,000, then it goes to $1 million or whatever it is. So the Jazz getting $500,000 was a little weird because it wasn't within the tanking or player participation policy. And why I say that, and I think it ties into your point, which is if you want to say conduct detrimental to the NBA, that could be every single night in the NBA with what happens with rotations or who's available and who's not available. That doesn't apply to the player participation policy. You know, the Jazz can rest Yusuf Nurkic all they want. He's not in the player participation policy. But if suddenly the NBA says, well, that's detrimental to the NBA and we're going to fine you anyways, then this opens a can of worms that you can't enforce every night because you can't fine your teams every single night they step on the court.
Because he doesn't care about policy and never has. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the Jazz have done to whatever, if it's Oklahoma City or whatever. But the funny, like, let me use Bobby Marks, right? Bobby Marks accuses the Jazz messing with the integrity of the league. And that's why they got fined.
Yeah.
I saw it on the Snap Talk. Somebody pointed out that, a day before, he was saying Milwaukee would be crazy if they played Giannis and didn't tank this year. Said it the day before. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Yep. And by the way, the Jazz / many other teams compromised their integrity years ago, decades ago for some teams. What do you mean compromise the NBA integrity? Are you not paying attention? Did you not see what the Spurs did in the 90s to get Tim Duncan? What they did was compromise their integrity.
C is an interesting word because he literally says the word. He said it's a bit of a, here, I'll read it to you. He says, I attempted to not only respond to what behavior we've seen, but send a clear message that we're going to be scrutinizing everything we see going forward. Absolutely. But I don't think that's a way to manage this system long term. He did say there's a bit of a know it when you see it quality to this. I mean, we spend a lot of time in the league going back and forth with teams on injury reports. We're going to be looking more closely at the totality of the circumstances this season in terms of teams' behavior and very intentionally wanted teams to be on notice. Are we seeing behavior that's worse this year than we've seen in recent memory? He says yes. So again...
Okay, that is ridiculous.
It is. That
is false and ridiculous.
There's the know it when you see it aspect of it. Fine. If you want to say, I can tell the Jazz are tanking because they're not playing their guys in the fourth quarters, regardless of the outcome, they're trying to do something differently. Fine. But are you saying you didn't watch the Sacramento Kings in their final game before the All-Star break and that wasn't a team trying to lose?
See, that's what I'm saying. They don't care about policy. They don't care about even application of that. It would be impossible. Ben, I remember this had to be, how long ago did Marc Gasol actually play for the Grizzlies? When they were tanking to get Ja Morant. Mm-hmm. I think he talked about it after the game. He was upset. He didn't play the entire second half.
Right. Of a game against the Jazz.
A game against the
Where
Jazz.
He had like 20 in the first half.
Salt Lake, dominating. Sat the entire second half. Ben, that was 12 years ago?
Not that long ago.
10
Ja's
years
only
ago?
been in the league for 5 years.
But my point is so did you not see it then?
Exactly right.
So are you an idiot or are you corrupt? The answer is the latter.
Yeah.
The answer is the latter, and somehow now you're using the Jazz as an example. And listen, people could accuse us of being Homer radio and all this stuff, and it stands out. They never did this to any other franchise. They did it to Dallas once, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and it was just because Jason Kidd talked about it after the game.
He said actively, we're trying to lose these games because it's better for our franchise.
He said that after the game, so they fined him.
Yep.
That's the only other example. You cannot tell me that teams haven't been intentionally booting games for decades. So did you not see it before, or are you choosing to see it now? And don't give me the justification of, it's worse this year. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not.
I've sat in this chair and the chair over there at the arena, Ben, and watched teams intentionally boot games for basically my entire career. Mm-hmm. I can see it, and I'm an idiot. I'm just a radio bozo. I can see it. You can see it.
Yeah, of course. Everyone can see it. That's the thing. The know it when you
So,
see it. We all know it. Everybody watching the games
Yes.
right now knows it. Everybody knows it. So when are you going to say you know it? And if you want to just say that was the line and everyone's on notice and we're going to find everybody from here on out, I guess you better do it. Because if you're going to say you know it when you see it and then pretend you don't see it, you're right. The word integrity comes back into the conversation and the NBA won't have it.
And by the way, this is not Adam Silver's ticket to out of that job is the Clippers. It's not tanking because the other owners have to revolt. That's how it has to work. The other owners have to fire him. And if there's a team that is breaking the rules so overtly, and trust me, it's overt.
Yeah.
So overtly that and get off without any sort of punishment. That's his ticket out of that job. But as far as the solutions to tanking go, I've always liked the get rid of the draft idea. But it did kind of make me laugh that all of a sudden is surfacing. But guess what they're going to do? Nothing. If they do anything, it's going to be one of these stupid peripheral moves like the play-in game, and that's it. They're not going to do anything about it. They're going to act like they're doing it,
Yeah.
and then they're going to do nothing. They're going to hire a law firm and say, look, we're doing something about it,
Yeah.
and then do nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's all a PR game. It has nothing to do with policy, which is what is the NBA's job? And I saw this tweet from Mark Cuban saying, the NBA should embrace tanking because it's about fan experience. It's not even about the legitimacy of the game anymore. BS. Yes, fan experience is important. And yes, everybody remembers their date and not necessarily the big dunk, which was Mark Cuban's point. Mm-hmm. But nobody is going to a league that they perceive as illegitimate, and nobody is going to bet on games that they feel are rigged.
Yeah.
So you can hide behind fan experience all you want, but the truth is if you don't have a legitimate competitive playing field, people are going to leave.
Yep.
Including you and I.
Yeah.
And hey, our livings are associated with it, but it's a little bit different. But if the league is not legitimate, the Lakers and the Clippers and all these teams are just going to overtly cheat to make it so the Jazzes of the world never have a chance to win a title, well, people are going to stop watching.
Yeah, they will.
And stop participating. And that was what David Stern was so fearful of. To bring this full circle to our previous conversation. David Stern covered up the Tim Donaghy thing, which I don't find acceptable behavior, but he did all that. Why? Because you have to preserve the legitimacy of the league at all costs, because if you're not legitimate, people aren't going to support it. And now you have a dang coach who was arrested off basically the sidelines. How is Adam Silver not under way more heat?
I think he's using some of these teams right now, including the Utah Jazz. And look, I'm not defending the Utah Jazz. I'm not defending tanking, even though I recognize that the system they have built rewards it, and that's not a problem of the Utah Jazz. That's a problem of the system that the league built that does so heavily reward teams for tanking. If you want to just start enforcing these rules, you get to pick a day. I mean, you should have done it earlier, but you get to pick a day because the best day to do it is, 2 years ago. The next best day is today. But yes, to pretend that this isn't covering up or trying to make up for those very issues, where the NBA does have a huge PR issue with Malik Beasley or Terry Rozier or Jonte Porter, or now more blatantly than anybody, Chauncey Billups, is crazy.
There are no rules. That's the problem. No. There are no rules. Is there a rule against tanking? There's really not.
No. There's player participation policy. There's no rule against tanking.
So what are they enforcing?
No, I that was my big question is what the whole issue with last week. Again, what rule are you picking to enforce? What are you trying to turn the product into? What is the goal here?
In all honesty, if you can prove teams are booting games, then you should ban those players. I mean, if you want to get down with coaches or whatever. I mean, because that's fixing games. Mm-hmm. It's no different than gambling if you want to look at it.
Right,
if you've got a player shaving points, it's really no different. Mm-hmm. You've got a whole team effort to lose games on purpose. If you actually wanted to fix that, then you would start banning teams. But the rules are actually set up to create that. Mm-hmm. And just simply tinkering around the edges isn't going to fix anything.
No, it's got to be an entire overhaul, which maybe they will go for, trying to do it mid-season with 30 games left.
No, they're going to lick their finger and put it up in the air and do just enough to get that wind to stop blowing.
Yeah, as soon as the narrative dies down, they won't be doing anything.
They won't do anything.
Yeah.
Look, if you don't believe me, look no further than their flopping rules, which they decide every 5 years or so to kind of pretend to enforce
We're
flopping.
opening the season.
And then they forget about it as soon as people stop complaining.
Yep.
All right, stay tuned. Cole Bagley joins the show. Coming up next, Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.